will now be an opportunity for silent prayer
or meditation. Thank you. You may be seated. The first item on the order paper is a motion in the name of the Chief Whip of the Majority Party. Chief Whip.
Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker. Deputy Speaker, we move that this House knows with great shock the death of the Minister of Environmental Affairs, Ms Edna Molewa, on Saturday, the 22nd September 2018, at a Pretoria hospital after a short illness. We further note that the 61-year-old Molewa was a member of the African National Congress National Executive Committee, NEC, as well as the ANC Women's League National Working Committee, ANC Women's League NWC. We also recall, Deputy Speaker, that she was the first female ever to become a provincial chairperson of the ANC, and in 2004, she became the first female premier of the Northwest Provincial Government, a post she filled until 2009. We further recall that before being appointed Minister for Water and Environmental Affairs in 2010, amongst other government accolades, she served as MEC for Social Development in the Northwest Province. We remember that it was under her stewardship of the Environmental Affairs Department that the historic Paris Agreement to combat climate change was signed at the United Nations in April 2016, a global feat that she was credited as having played a large part in. We further remember that in July 2016, she was awarded one of France's top honors, the Officier d'Ordre National de la Légion, the honor celebrating accomplishments of distinguished individuals irrespective of where they are from. Honorable Speaker, we believe that her death is a devastating loss to our nation and to the global community, as she was a champion nationally and globally for the environmental integrity of a sustainable planet Earth. And lastly, Deputy Speaker, this House conveys its deepest condolences to the family of Minister Molewa, as well as to her colleagues in Cabinet and across all spheres of government who have had the privilege to work alongside her. I so move.
Honorable the Minister of Defense and Military Veterans.
Honorable Deputy Speaker, honorable members, the family of our beloved Comrade Edna Molewa, Mama, Nono, Didi, Michael, and Basi. The extended family and friends who are here with us this afternoon, we acknowledge you. Lest we forget that there's a good number of people who've passed on, who were deployed as members of our country's cabinet following the democratic breakthrough of 1994. They all graced this honorable House as members. Some were ex-members of the cabinet when they met their death, while others were serving cabinet members at the point of their death. There are many members of parliament who did not become members of cabinet, who nonetheless served our people with distinction as members of this House, deployed in various portfolio committees where they worked tirelessly. We were saddened when they pass, but remember them fondly. The deceased cabinet members came from the three political organizations, stroke parties, the African National Congress, the National Party, and the IFP. Organizations that formed the government of national unity under President Nelson Mandela and during President Thabo Mbeki's first term between 1999 and 2004. The African National Congress cabinet members who were still in service when they died were Comrades Joe Slovo in 1995, Comrade Steve Tshwete in 2002, Comrade Dala Oma in 2004, Comrade Stella Sicau in 2006, Roy Padayashi in 2012, and now Comrade Edna Molewa in 2018. All of those comrades were highly trusted members of the African National Congress, who were dedicated servants of our people and completely loyal to the cause of thoroughgoing democracy for all our people, black and white. Comrade Edna was the next generation of leadership after the likes of Joe Slovo, Steve Tshwete, Dala Oma, Stella Sicau, and Roy Padayashi, and many other leaders of our movement who have since left the world of the living, and those who continue to contribute to the consolidation and advancement of the democratic project in our country. Comrade Edna was part of the first contingent that assumed membership of our parliament in 1994. In that very year, she was elected chairperson of the Portfolio Committee on Trade and Industry, making history as the first woman to occupy leadership of such committee. She was redeployed to the Northwest Legislature in 2000, where she became a member of the Executive Council for Agriculture, Conservation and Environmental Affairs, and later became that province's premier. It was those deployments that prepared her to serve as Minister of Water and Environmental Affairs in 2010, where she served with distinction. First 5 years of our democratic dispensation were very difficult, where the legislators were charged with the heavy task of breaking down the walls of apartheid by expunging from our statute all the laws that for many years had buttressed racism in South Africa to produce a new ethos which, according to our constitution, would, and I quote, heal the divisions of the past and establish a society based on democratic values, social justice, and fundamental human rights, close quote. A period such as that required energetic and committed cadres like Comrade Edna, who had to put in their effort, long hours, working to define a better South Africa for their children and many forthcoming generations of South Africa's population. The following years were not easy, as the newly established democratic order needed to be consolidated and advanced on the basis of honest and loyal service to all our country's people. The government, in order for it to articulate a program to deliver a better life for all, would necessarily rely on cadres like Comrade Edna to succeed in its effort to turn our people's dreams of unadulterated freedom into reality. Edna's impact in all her tasks for our people cannot be gainsaid, except by those cynics who thrive in extreme negativity. She was able to turn all her tasks, including very difficult ones, into success stories. The question must then be asked, what shapes people like Comrade Edna? I'm convinced that the discipline she displayed in her work and other tasks she was given and the commitment she showed as she discharged all of her functions originate from her involvement in our struggle for our freedom, especially when she was recruited into the underground structures of the African National Congress. Comrade Edna, as a matter of course, was identified for recruitment by the ANC because of the work she did in the labor movement and the signs she showed of her discipline, loyalty, and commitment to the cause. She never said no to assignments she was given to advance the cause for freedom. When she arrived in the Northwest in 2000, she picked up the political conflict in the ANC, which in the beginning were subtle, but the conflict soon produced clear-cut groups where they were bitterly opposed to one another, those who had to do with the disastrous craving for power. At then, Comrade Popo Molewa was the chairperson of the African National Congress and the premier of the Northwest. In the other corner was Comrade Nkosi-Malobane the late, who coveted Molewa's position. Each of the leaders had massive support in the province and nationally. Comrade Edna, seeing how damaging the infighting was to the ANC, approached some senior comrades in the province and nationally, imploring them to intervene. That intervention was slow and ineffective. Northwest has not recovered from those divisions of those days. Those of us who worked with Comrade Edna are proud to have worked with her in the many projects that were undertaken to consolidate our democratic dispensation. She had a sharp mind and contributed immensely to the many strategic sessions we had to find answers to the vexing questions of threats to our democracy. Many of those threats have been popping up now and again, exploiting at times our inability to provide the services that our people so sorely need, but exploding into violent confrontation between our people and themselves and people and the entities like the police that represent our government. The confrontations have culminated in the destruction of property and the murders of innocent people who in many instances were simply casualties of the confrontation. On the other occasions, those threats would be defined by some chauvinistic tendencies that include a return to racism and various kinds of phobias, including homophobia and xenophobia, as well as sexual discrimination. Does all of this mean we've failed to heal the divisions of the past and that we have failed as our constitution enjoins us to build a united and democratic non-sexist South Africa? If that is so, then losing cadres like Comrade Edna makes our situation that much more difficult for us to change course and realign ourselves to the work at hand to produce a South Africa of the dreams of our forebears. We talk about the kind of South Africa that the ANC's Freedom Charter envisages in the following terms as it sets out what would be necessary to do to haul the country out of the quagmire of racial oppression and where, therefore, all our people live in brotherhood, enjoying equal rights and opportunities that only democratic state can secure to all their birthright without distinction of color, race, sex, or belief. She was a strong, resilient woman, an activist for the liberation of our people, a leader, a mother, a sister, and a daughter. She loved life, lived it to the full. She committed mistakes because she was human. She was selfless. She was beautiful with a beautiful smile. She expressed her views without fear or favor. She stuck to what she believed was right. Rest in peace, daughter of the soil. Robola ka khotso ngwanana. Ahe, niskang tseya jwano. Ahe, wa tshega mothobo. Ge kini ki bone kgokolo. Ki bone ntlo ya mme Motshabi le Malobane. Ki bone ntlo ya mosadi wa ka, ki bone ntlo mo ke tla robala teng. Ke ngwana bokwankwata wa Motatelo. Ngwana wa Balfielo le Hlubanaga. Ke ngwana wa Bomangkhulu Mosema. Ngwana wa Bophiri e Mothabeng Matsilatitlalala. Rest in peace, Comrade Edna. Robala ka khotso ngwanana. We will pick up your spear and continue to march on and fight to ensure that our people receive all the services they were fighting for and that we deepen democracy in our country. Thank you to the family of Comrade Edna for being here with us this afternoon. Thank you.
Deputy Speaker,
Yes, Honorable.
if I might have your indulgence, the minister, there is an emergency that has occurred. That's why we asked her to speak first. So she has got to rush to this emergency now. We are just informing the House so that she should not be seen as showing disrespect to this debate when she leaves. Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Speaker.
Thank you. Honorable Khadebe.
Honorable Deputy Speaker, Minister Molewa's family, it is indeed a sad day as we celebrate the life of Honorable Molewa, whose untimely passing left the country and the world devastated. On behalf of the Democratic Alliance and the DA members serving on the Environmental Affairs Committee, I offer my deepest condolences to Minister's family and to the ANC. I would like to say to the family and the ANC, your grief is our grief. The country, the continent, and the world community have lost an environmental climate change champion. She was a minister who took criticism and understood the role of opposition parties in our democracy. As the chief whip of the majority alluded, under her leadership, we have seen South Africa taking on a growing leadership role in international environmental matters. Minister Molewa's leadership saw the country hosting two major environmental conferences. The 17th Conference of Parties to the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, held in Durban in 2011, which laid a footing for what is known today as the Paris Agreement. It was also under her leadership that South Africa, as the chair of G77, generated a paradigm shift from mitigation-centric approach to a holistic and a comprehensive approach in order to meaningfully address climate change. In 2016, the country hosted the 17th Conference of Parties to the Convention of International Trade in Endangered Species of Fauna and Flora. Minister Molewa championed a multidisciplinary approach to combating rhino poaching, which has resulted in a good progress towards a decline in poaching activity. She was able to partner with Security SLASA in our conservation efforts, and she recognized the need for an integrated approach that will draw together all sectors of society, including the government, the private sector, the NGOs, and donor communities as well as local community. She worked extensively on the translocation of rhino to establish new rhino ranges in countries whose rhino has been lost to poaching. Minister Molewa saw the need for cross-border collaboration in order to eliminate all sanctuaries for poachers in and around South Africa. The minister spearheaded a women and environment program and saw the dedication of South African alpacas to Miriam Makeba, another beloved South African icon. It is impossible to capture all Minister Molewa's contribution to the protecting of the environment for the benefit of future generations, but her tireless and passionate efforts to the global environment were recognized worldwide. Just this year, Minister Molewa was awarded one of the French top honors, the French Legion of Honor. The award recognized not only her work in environmental protection, but also her commitment to the struggle for freedom of women's rights. We have the privilege as a nation to be led by an environmental champion of her caliber. She will be missed at home and abroad. Her contribution to full realization of environmental rights enshrined in our Constitution will not be forgotten. May her soul rest in eternal peace. I thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Thank you. Honorable Tembe Gwayo.
Deputy Speaker, the EFF joins thousands of South Africans in sending our deep-felt condolences to the family of the late Minister Edna Molewa, her comrades in the ANC, and the staff members who dearly loved her at the Department of Environmental Affairs. We were shocked at her premature departure because the country still needed her extensive experience, her passionate love for her people, and her complete dedication to particularly her last assignment as a Minister of Environmental Affairs. She led this portfolio during a very challenging time, not only in this country, but as the world is busy grappling with the devastating effects of human-induced climate change. Climate change is the single most important threat to the preservation of the human species. Minister Molewa understood this fully and led a group of professionals at the Department of Environmental Affairs in developing climate change mitigation and adaptation strategies. As a result, South Africa is a global thought leader on climate change. This is partly due to her leadership. If we were truly to honor her, we ought to commit ourselves further to rethinking about our pathways to development as a nation and realize that continuing on the current path of exploiting infinite and non-renewable fossil fuels for development is the surest way to destruction. We must promote ecologically sustainable development, strengthen the protection of our previous biodiversity in a manner that allows for sustainable extraction of natural resources to support livelihoods. May her beautiful soul rest in perfect peace. I thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Singh.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Speaker, honorable colleagues. The Inkatha Freedom Party wishes to express its deepest condolences to the family, friends, the ANC, colleagues in Cabinet and staff of Minister Molewa on her sad and sudden passing after a short illness on the 22nd of September. I met with the Honourable Minister a week before she departed for overseas at a colloquium on the lion bone trade, which she addressed here at Parliament, despite many activists saying she would not attend. Well, she did just that, and not only placed government's position on the issue before them, but also undertook to engage further with them on this very contentious matter. She looked hale and hearty. Deputy Speaker, I also had the distinct privilege of working with Minister Molewa when we were both MECs for Agriculture and Environment some 20 years ago. In 2016, I remember with fondness our interactions, although sometimes spirited, as regards wildlife conservation, and the courtesies she extended to me as a colleague and representative of the IFP at the CITES Conference of Parties held in Sandton that year. Minister Molewa served with distinction in any role to which she had been deployed by her party and played a critical role in South Africa's pre-democracy liberation politics. During a lunchtime meeting that I had just now with delegates, ambassadors from the European Union, they waxed lyrical about their association with Minister Molewa and their ability to ensure that African ambassadors were brought together when they signed the Paris Agreement recently. In her portfolio as Minister of Environment, she will be remembered for working tirelessly in working towards bringing an end to the scourge of rhino horn poaching in South Africa. Her balanced approach between environmental and socioeconomic rights will be remembered as she came to the assistance of subsistence fishermen in areas in which certain NGOs were advocating for no fishing zones. She appreciated that local communities used fishing as a means of their very survival. Deputy Speaker, her successor has huge shoes to fill and will have to measure up to the environmental challenges that we face today as humanity. Minister Molewa would have been up for this challenge in respect of enacting legislation and policies that would ensure the sustainable protection of our environment, its wildlife and natural resources for our current and future generations. Before I conclude, Honorable Deputy Speaker, there is a lesson that we must learn from this sad and untimely passing. I had spoken to a medical doctor soon after talking about this matter, and he said, you know, you as members of parliament travel a lot, abroad especially. Just take a broad spectrum antibiotic and put it in your medicine pack. And as soon as you feel a hint of a fever or anything like that, start taking those antibiotics. This is a lesson we learn from the passing of Minister Molewa. In conclusion, to the family, on behalf of our party, our heartfelt condolences. And let me say, lives are like rivers. Eventually they go where they must. May her soul rest in peace. Thank you.
Honorable Kobisa.
Deputy Speaker, thank you very much, honorable members of this House. On behalf of the President of the NFP, Honorable VZ Kamakwaza Msebi, and the NFP as a whole, I would wish to convey condolences and our heartfelt words of comfort and sympathy to the Molewa family on the passing of Minister Edna Molewa. We wish also to convey our condolences to the NC, friends, relatives, and all South Africans. It is said that in the passing of Minister Molewa, the country was robbed of the most noble and highly principled leader and the servant of the people. Minister Molewa passed on a very young age, but her resume gives us a classical example of what is meant to be purpose-driven and people-centered. She was the first and foremost a teacher, researcher, scholar, unionist, politician, activist, environmentalist, and internationalist whose work was rewarded with regional honors and international accolades. She will be remembered for that Paris Agreement on climate change. She was first the chairperson of Trade and Industry in 1994 and was also the MEC of various portfolios. As the Premier of Northwest, she demonstrated all attributes of ethical and principle-centered leadership, always leading by example as a professional, a methodical thinker, and an organizer. She worked within our shores, regionally and internationally, on the curbing of the rhino poaching and trafficking of rhino horns, and coming with innovative strategies in SADC, UN, and globally to deal with climate change. As Minister of Environmental Affairs, she worked to advance the integrated strategic management of rhinos through a variety of conservation-minded efforts approved by Cabinet. She introduced a lot of rhino anti-poaching initiatives and law enforcement collaboration at all levels within the ambit of this subject. From her book, we can take a leaf of a disciplined and a committed servant of the people. And from UNISA, she achieved a BCom degree, a leadership course at Harvard Kennedy School of Government, a certificate of economic leadership and development program from Wharton Business School. She was also Chancellor of Sefako Mahatu and was awarded a PhD honoris causa. May her soul rest in peace. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Filton.
What a life, what a loss for South Africa and the world indeed. I stand here on behalf of the UDM, which joins the masses of the people of South Africa and the world over in expressing its deepest sincere condolences to the family, friends, and colleagues of Mayor Edna Molewa. She was the guardian of our earth for the benefit of generations yet to come. Mayor Molewa was and shall remain a force for progress and a strong representative of the country in global forums and on issues such as climate change, anti-rhino poaching campaign, and many others. Her death is truly a great loss to the nation, as well as her political home, the African National Congress. She was one of the most humble and hard-working servants of the people, and a true champion to our constitutional democracy. Her appointment as the Chancellor of the Sefako Mahato Health and Sciences University was a confirmation and a declaration of confidence on her as a woman of rare caliber. Indeed, It indicates that South Africa was blessed by this caliber of leadership that is always required to drive the nation's aspirations to logical conclusion and deliver a better life for all. Molewa follows in the steps of Mama Sisulu in South Africa, losing its great leaders whose wisdom, guidance, commitment, and true love for people shall always be missed. Without people like her, we and our environment are left poor. As we remember the daughter of the nation who always kept her eyes on the ball, we must recall on the task that is left with us to remember her great legacy. We must not let her legacy go in vain. We should ensure the integrity of our global environment and strive for sustainable living so that we can live, share, and enjoy. May her soul rest in peace. I thank you.
Honorable Lekota.
Modulasetulo ke a leboha ntate. E re ke qale ka ho shebisa matshediso ho ba lelapa la habo mme Edna Molewa. Bana beso e se ka le ka tshidiseha. Hobane baholoholo ba ye ba re lefu ke ngwetsi ya malapa ohle. Re sebeditse le ngwetsi ya lona, ra sebetsa le yena, re tsebane le yena matsatsing a mabe ha ho no santane ho lwanwa ntwa ena e ne tshabeha tokoloho. Ba bangata ba ile ba finethwa re tsamaya ditsela tseo kaofela. Ha nako ena e kanyena e fihlile re hopole ditsela tse re di tsamaileng le thaka tsa hae tse ileng tsa tsamaya ka nako tseo. Empa he yena jwalo ka ngwana ya ileng a rupellwa, e ne se fela morupelli, e ne le nthwena e Basotho ba reng ke mosuwe. Bane motho ha o suwa letlalo, o suwa matlalo a mefuta yohle a tliswang ho yena. Le yena bana le batho ba neng a sebetsa le bona, ha ba fihlile o ne a sa sebetse le bona fela, o ne a ba rupella, a ba suwa, a ba aha, a ba fa mehlala ya ho etsa mesebetsi le ho phela e neng e ba etsa batho ba phethahetseng ho feta ka nako eo ba le yona ha a kopana le bona. Jwale ka jeno re maswabi haholo ha ile a re siya, o re siile ka nako a neng a le matla haholo mesebetsing ya hae. A sebetsa hae mona, a sebetsa le matjhaba-tjhaba a lefatshe. Mme ha re fumana ditlalehelo tsa mesebetsi ya di etsang ka ntle ho naha, ene e ntse e mo paka jwalo ka ha re mo tseba hae mona. Ha o le jwale he re hona le tshedise ka nnete hobane le yona tsenene ya bohloko ba lefu e na le nako ya yona ya shwa. Comrade Edna worked with us, comrades, in the dark hours of the struggle against apartheid. She was always exemplary, always available, always ready for various tasks and so on. And we laid the foundations of the democratic South Africa with her. I remember quite so well how in the meetings of the provincial leaders at the time, under the leadership of Comrade Pupo Molefe, as Premier of the Northwest, she guided, she contributed, and made outstanding contribution. And today, when we look back, both then and now, we have deep pride in having experienced working side by side with her. So I'd like to say to the family, I've already said, to the family of the Congress people, the young people that she brought up, colleagues that were with her in the workplaces, both before she came to government and after she came to government, must all take comfort in the knowledge that once we shared with her the trenches. May her soul rest in peace. I thank you.
That concludes the speakers list on this matter. I take it that there are no objections to the motion being adopted. Will members please rise to observe a moment of silence in the memory of Ms. B.E.E. Molewa. Thank you. Please be seated. We as presiding officers associate ourselves with the motion. The condolences of the House will be conveyed to the Molewa family. The second motion on the order paper is also in the name of the Chief Whip of the Majority Party.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Deputy Speaker, we move that this House notes with great shock and the death of the African National Congress Member of Parliament in the National Assembly, Ms. Nkosi Mnisi, on Tuesday, the 18th of September 2018, after a short illness. We understand that Nkosi was deployed in Parliament as an MP in 2009, and that she served in the Portfolio Committee on Defense and Military Veterans and Home Affairs. We also recall that Mnisi was a humble and dedicated ANC MP who represented the ANC in Parliament with pride and distinction. We further recall that she was active not only in the ANC but also in the South African Communist Party and the Alliance at large. We believe that her passing leaves a huge void for her family, relatives, friends, and colleagues in Parliament. And lastly, as this Parliament, we convey our heartfelt condolences to the Mnisi family, her loved ones, and friends. I so move, Deputy Speaker.
Honorable Ficklin.
Mandibulele Deputy Speaker. Nam ndixelisa abanye abantu ndizogxola emswaneni ndingogqithwaza inkomo. Mandibulise kule ndlu yonke nakwifamily yakwaMnisi, izalamane nezihlobo. We gathered here today by the saddening news at unexpected passing away of Member of Parliament, Mrs. Nkosi Mnisi, after a short illness. It became an honor in serving my first years as a Member of Parliament with the late Ms. Nkosi Mnisi. In 2009, when I started in Parliament, we were both deployed in the human settlement. That was my first experience. But the first thing I had to ask, because Nkosi means a married woman's name, I didn't understand, but I wanted to ask because I was curious. When she asked my name, I told her, I'm Zovugile. Then she said, no, I can't call you Mzovugile, I must call you Musi. And I say, no, man, Musi, no, your name will be Vusi, no Musi. Then later on, I say, when I tease her that, Nkosi, when you get married, please don't change your name, because your name has got a heavy weight. So, by the way, Nkosi was like a friend, a sister to me, and every time we go on oversight, if we don't eat, because we have a very slave driver, chairperson, that time, Umamutambuza, we would work from the morning until 11 o'clock at night. When we come to the hotel, there is no food. So Mnisi always have something in the bag. It's either a banana, ilegese, so besi enjoy our banana. So nam diti mandiken ndibe ngomnye wabantu ndizogcwala apha emswaneni. Mandithi tutu ke kwifamily kamama Mnisi, ndithi tutwini kwi-African National Congress, SACP, nathi as a Democratic Alliance, inhliziyo zethu zibhlungu silahlekelwe kuba umama Mnisi ebengumuntu okholwa kusebenza ebebuza into xa ebengayiqondi esebenza ungasoze umve esithi hayi andizuya kuloo ndawo kodwa ke ndithe apha ngo-2014 xa ndiphinda ndibuyela apha eParliament saphinda sasebenza kunye saxilonga kunye kwisebe lakwa-Home Affairs apho ke ndizomgqibela khona ngomhla we-12 kuSeptemba egula senze inquiry. I think after that ndaphinda ndazodibana naye nge-13th esithi uya kwagqirha ndiye ndakhwankqiswa ke xa ndifumana isithonga sentoba uye wasishiya ngomhla we-18. Ndithi tutwini ke nakwi-constituency yakhe ngokunjalo kuba ke nami isithwakumba ndasiva kuyo kodwa zange ndibhilive. Yanga ukhongolose angomelela nilahlekelwe nathi silahlekelwe sisizwe kuba lihambile iqhawekazi lamaqhawe sithi halala nakuye apho akhoyo. Mandicaphule kwincwadi zika-Isaya kulamazwi athi ndikubizile ngegama wena ngowam. Emilanjeni awuyi kurhaxwa emifuleni ungasayi kuntyuliseleka kuba ndikubizile ngegama ungowam. Bakhona ke abantu ababizwayo bangavumi kodwa lo sisi ube liqhawekazi lamaqhawe waze umzamo omhle wawenza ugqatso walufeza uselelwe sisaba sobomi. Lala kakuhle mama Mnisi, enkosi kakhulu.
Thank you. Honorable Mhlongo.
As the EFF, we would like to take this opportunity to pay respect to our colleague, Honorable Nkosi-Malobane, who has sadly passed away. It is often said that when those whom we love passes on, we, the living, help close their eyes. In return, it is the departed who help open the eyes of us, the living. We need these eyes today when we commemorate life and times of Comrade Nkosi-Malobane, whose life was lived and led whilst amongst us. After King Hintsa's capture by the colonialists, brought before the white magistrate with soiled and torn apart clothes, the white magistrate asked King Hintsa as to why he was wearing soiled and torn apart clothes while standing in front of him. King Hintsa replied to the white magistrate, "I am being eaten by the dogs." Today, as a country and as a people, we are being eaten by the dogs. It is during times like this when we need to sit back and reflect what went wrong. To the Mnisi family and friends, members of Defense Portfolio Committee, this House as a whole, we can only join an African poet who, upon thinking of mentorship, wrote, "Ewu, isindwe yade yazika lenqanawe, wafa amakhalipha amafela nankosi, agazi lawo lithethe kwiinkosi zeenkosi. Lokhu kunomvuzo nomvuko, nami kwangandi ngema ndingqambe, ngomhla wokuphela kwenkwenkwezi yokusa, ngomhla womvuko. Rest in peace, rest in eternal peace, Comrade Mnisi." I thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Honorable Nkomo of the IFP. She will speak from where she is.
Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker. The Inkatha Freedom Party would like to send its condolences to the children of Utadwetu Mnisi, to his family, to the African National Congress. Siyacela ukuthi yebo kubhlungu ingane zakithi nakithi kubhlungu uNkulunkulu abe nani aniqinise aniphe amandla. It was with great shock and sadness to us as the IFP that one member of our family, which is this parliament, passed away. Mnisi was a very special lady. I served with her in the Portfolio Committee of Home Affairs. She was such a dedicated worker, and she had a few things which probably even some of you, even from her party, might not be aware of. I used to sit with her most of the time because we had this rapport between the two of us. She would always talk about her children. Ebeyithanda kakhulu ingane zakhe. Nalapho ekhona usanithanda umama wenu. Ngicela ukuthi nginazise ngalokho. She was so loving, and I must state, Deputy Speaker, she also had a sense of humor. It was very, very shallow. You would not notice it until when you listen to her thoroughly. She was so good. Of course, she was also a trendy dresser. I would always say to her, "Where did you buy this?" You know, she was quite a chubby lady, but she had this thing about her, extremely stylish. And I would always kid her and say to her, "If there's one thing about you, Mnisi, which I love the most, is that you are not fashionable." And then she would say to me, "Why are you saying that?" I say to her, "It's because you are stylish, and there's a difference between fashion and style. Because with style, you see, you live forever. And with fashion, it's like bubble gum chappies. Le oyidla uyihlafune ngomva kwesikhathi ushukela uphelile." And she would always laugh about that. But I must tell you, she was really a trendy dresser. Honorable Mnisi, in our committee in Home Affairs, you know, the day or the days before she passed away, she came to the committee and she was feeling extremely febrile, shivering and all that, and we had to take her to the doctor. And a few incidences also happened in that committee where some of the members got hurt. But we would like to state for the record and for that family, Mnisi, ukuthi, you gave it to us. She served South Africa very well. Kodwa, abantwana bakhe, ngicela ningalibali, umama wenu ubenithanda na namhlanje usanithanda. May his soul rest in peace. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Mnisi.
Siyabonga sekela somlomo wendlu ngibingelele imindeni ekhona phakathi kwethu lakamlewa nakamnisi nabahlonishwa bonke. Ngekhathi ezinjena sekela somlomo sike siduduzeke masibuka impilo kaJobe eBhayibhelini. Uma sekwenzeke konke imfuyo yakhe ifile nabantwana bakhe beshonile, uma bezama ukumduduza unezwi elilodwa atshoyo athi, "Kanti besekwamukela okuhle kodwa yini Nkosini?" Amazwi lawo ngithanda wadlulisela kumndeni kaMnisi ukuthi nekhathi ezinjena ziyafika. Asikwazi ukuzemukela kodwa ziyiphathi noma ziyingxenye yempilo yethu. Sikhala kanye nani. Umama uMnisi ngibe naye kwi-Defense Committee. Ngicabanga ukuthi leminyakeni embalwa nje edlule noma kunyaka odlule besikise eThekwini eMoses Mabhida Stadium kwi-Armed Forces Day la ngaqala ukumnothisa khona. Uma kuculwa i-national anthem ngangihlele eduze kwakhe. Uma kuculwa i-national anthem kuyinto ejwayelekile ukuthi vele umbayimbayi uzoqhuma. Angazi ukuthi ngase ngikhohle kanjani lokho ekhanda lami. Kodwa kwanoma sokuqhuma umbayimbayi angazange ukuthi ngathuka ngendlela eyihlazo. Ngezwe ngaye njengiqhweba ethi kodwa uyindoda pho bhuti. Usabe usuthuka kangaka. Ngaba namahloni endlela exakile. Kodwa ke bokuhlobo lukamama benjalo nje behlonipho yonke into yakhe ibeya ngenhlonipho. Noma hlangana ke lama passage kuyahlala ngikhumbuza athi umbayimbayi waseThekwini. Ngalawo mazwi sithi ke duduzekani alilahlekelwe nodwa umndeni kaMnisi. Sonke silahlekelwe nesizwe kakhulu, silahlekelwe nane office constituency office ebesebenza umbutho wakhe umbeke kuyo. Sithanda futhi ukudlulisa egameni le-NFP, ngihlonishwa kwaMagwaza Msibi, ukhala kwethu eqembini le-ANC ngokulahlekelwa kalo yiqhawe elifana naleli. Sikhalise futhi amabuvu baba umphephetho sizwile ukuthi ubekhona nakwezakho nawe sakhalisa kakhulu. Sithi masiqine sonke siqhubeke nokuyibamba lapho agcine khona umndeni uqine. Siyabonga.
Thank you. Honorable Filton.
The UDM sends its deep and heartfelt condolences to the family, friends, and comrades in the African National Congress and its alliance partners on the passing on of Nkosi Adelaide Mnisi. Her departure signals the need to reconstruct the architecture of both her family as well as Parliament. Ms. Mnisi was a humble, capable, and dedicated representative of the people of Nkosi-Malobane, Mpumalanga province, and the entire South Africa. Her death leaves a huge void, not only to her biological and political families, but also to her beloved country, to which she selflessly dedicated her life. Nkosi was friendly, and she sustained excellent relationships with all her colleagues. One of them is UDM's Honorable Majeke. Had she not attended the multi-party women's caucus workshop in Johannesburg as we speak, she would have been standing here and said, amongst other things, and this is what she wrote: "We have lost a wonderful lady who was at all material times dressed to perfection. We have been robbed of a loving smile, the warmth, friendliness, openness, and helpfulness that has always resembled Nkosi. Her great personality is already missed." She would have further said, "Due to our closeness, neighbors at Acacia Park would even mistake our daughters. They would refer to mine as hers and vice versa." We echo the words of Dorothy Ferguson, which aptly described her time with us. I quote, "How very softly you tiptoed our world, almost silently. Only a moment you stayed, but what an imprint your footsteps have left upon our hearts." Unquote. To her family, said, "Wanga uThixo anganikhanyisela ngokhanyiselo olungaciniyo." We hope you have already found solace in the knowledge that heavens just received one of the most special angels in the name of Nkosi. May her soul rest in peace.
Thank you. Honorable Nchaisa.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Speaker. On behalf of African Independent Congress, I hereby convey condolences to the bereaved family of Nkosi Mnisi. Nkosi was a dedicated and a diligent member of Parliament, a great woman indeed. Her passing away is a loss to the nation, as it is a loss to her family. She was a soft-spoken woman, a lady indeed, and I used to sit next to her when coming to Parliament and going back to Acacia Park. So she would speak softly like a lady. She has done good work for the country and served her people diligently. She was a humble servant of the people and very much interested in service delivery. We should know, therefore, that death lays his icy hands on kings. So this was well expected. Her time had come, and we should accept it, knowing well that we all have our dates to depart for the better world. She will always be remembered for her good work. May her soul rest in peace. I thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Mutimele.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Speaker, honorable members of the House, the Mnisi family, which I never met, but I know. Because whenever there was a family emergency, Honorable Mnisi will always report to me that, Chair, I must go home because I must sort out my children. I must go home because I must sort out my sister's children. And she will also tell me I must go home because this or that other relative is not well. She loved you so much. Deputy Speaker, ka segare ešo, ge motho yo le mo ratago, motho wa go fetoša maphelo a ba legapa gore a be kaone, motho wa lerato la borutho go ba lapa, a re tlogetše re fela re re mogapa o mogolo o wele, dinonyane di lla magošogošo di re tswii, mogapa mohlare o mogolo o mobotse wa matlakala a matala wa morito o mobose wa go tonya thwe wa go rata ke dinonyane le batho ke seo Nomakaya Mnisi a bego a le sona. That was Comrade Nokaya Mnisi. The same love for family, the same passion she had to change the lives of her family to the better, the kind of love you expressed to her as a family was also symbolized in our day-to-day interaction with her as our comrade in the study group of the African National Congress caucus, as an honorable member of the defense committees, as an honorable member of the National Assembly and a public representative to implement and safeguard the views of all, especially the poor and the working class, as enshrined in the Freedom Charter, the policies and election manifesto of the African National Congress. A true revolutionary indeed, who understood that to love the nation, to change society to the better, you must first love your family and change their lives to the better. A trendy dresser, I agree with you, honorable member. Always clean and immaculate. Speak and spare. I, for one, she was my ultimate ego booster. Because she'd always say, Chair, you are dressed up. What's the occasion? Whenever she would not see that, I would say that or comment. I would spend the whole day morose and humorless, knowing that I didn't make the grade. A hard worker who did work with passion, her work with passion and love. It is not surprising that according to the records, she has the highest rate of attendance of committees she served in. She would never be intimidated not to make any constructive contribution, even in platforms dominated by men. In several instances, the committee would meet with an international delegation dominated by men. And the first question she would ask would be, what happened to women in the society you come from. And warn, please bring women next time. She had a subtle and humorous way of bringing matters of gender equality to the fore and within the policy framework of the African National Congress, of course. Her passing on came as a surprise to me because it was not long that we were together in a meeting. Before we start a meeting every time, I would always ask committee secretaries or Honorable Dambuza, because she's one of the few women that we have in our committee, where is Comrade Mnisi? Mainly because I will need her articulate contribution in the meeting, or for her to do what I secretly admired, comment about my dress code. Now, all of a sudden, Comrade Mnisi is no more. Death has robbed us of her, but her spirit will live on with us in eternity. I do not know the disease and the condition that robbed us of Honorable Mnisi, but I want to call on her doctors, the entire medical fraternity and health scientists to declare that disease or condition an enemy of the people and work for its total elimination. Because the National Development Plan in its health vision seeks to raise the life expectancy of South Africans to at least 70 years. As a nation, honorable members, we must not tolerate having young people dying of any disease or health condition before their time. Let's comfort ourselves and corroborate the existence of Comrade Mnisi's eternal spirits amongst our midst with a quotation by one of my favorite poet and philosopher, a Lebanese writer, Khalil Gibran. I quote, "For life and death are one, even as the river and the sea are one." Khumurtegang lena lapa la ga Mnisi, khumurtegang lena ba goera le metswalle ya ga Mnisi, khumurtegang lena ba shumi ka ena, khumurtegang lena ma comrade, khumurtega African National Congress and the whole Congress Alliance, SACP, COSATU and SANCO. As we go to elections next year, please honor and pay respect to the legacy of this heroine of our struggle and democracy. Let's deepen the democracy she so tirelessly fought for. Go and register and vote. May her soul rest in eternal peace. Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes the speakers list on this matter. I take it there is no objection to the motion being adopted. Will members please rise to observe a moment of silence in memory of Ms. Mnisi. On behalf of the rest of the presiding officers, we associate ourselves with the motion. The condolences of the House will be conveyed to the Mnisi family. The Secretary will read the first order of the day.
Consideration of budgetary review and recommendation report of Portfolio Committee on Higher Education and Training on National Student Financial Aid Scheme, Council on Higher Education, South African Qualification Authority and Quality Council for Trade and Occupation.
Chief Whip.
Deputy Speaker, I move that the report be adopted.
The motion is that the report be adopted. Are there any objections? No objections. Agreed to. The Secretary will read the second order.
Sorry, Deputy Speaker, Dear would like to make a declaration.
On what?
On this report.
Honorable Steenhuisen, I noticed that maybe the environment made you almost nearly sleep. We had long gone past that. Yeah, okay. All right. Okay. Go ahead, Honorable Member.
Thanks, Chair. The Department of Higher Education manages 26 universities, 50 TVET colleges, 21 seaters. Shockingly, none of these report to our committee unless invited. It also has 4 so-called entities which do report to our committee: NSFAS and 3 quality councils. What of them? Well, NSFAS is such a disaster that it received a qualified audit and has been put under administration. Managing hundreds of thousands of student grants in tandem with 76 teaching institutions proved too much for it. Adding in billions of additional funds to pay for fee-free education led to the virtual collapse of the institution and the arrival of an administrator. He seems sure that NSFAS will be ready to manage the 2019 intake of students. This seems doubtful. One of the quality councils, the CHE, has been so badly underfunded that it can barely perform its basic tasks, which entail overseeing quality of universities. Another, the QCTO, is new, and it will be years before it is able to assess quality across the skills terrain. A third, SAQA, is busy imposing upon itself a huge range of new tasks, which it is not equipped to handle. Most worrying of all are the seaters, which do not appear before the committee as a matter of course, and whose shenanigans are hidden from view. 800 million rand of irregular expenditure this year says it all. These problems tend to be dwarfed within ANC discourse, which revolves around students. But the integrity of our system of education and training is at stake here, and nobody seems to care about that except the DA. Thank you.
The EFF.
Thank you, House Chair. The EFF rejects this BRRR. NSFAS has passed its sell-by date, and we can guarantee the Minister now that to fix the system will come to nothing. NSFAS and nearly every other entity in the Department of Higher Education besides the South African Qualifications Authority is a mess. NSFAS was a scheme designed to provide education to the children of the poor, and while many have been able to attain education because of it, it is fundamentally flawed. Students in this country, before they have even graduated, are in debt worth hundreds of thousands of rands. Unemployment continues to grow, yet we expect black students to find jobs to pay off this debt. Combine this with black tax and the often unrealistic expectations placed on those who are the first in the family to graduate, the burden placed on young people is too much. But even though students are required to pay back these loans, NSFAS officials often treat it as a bursary. Management and NSFAS officials feel like they are doing students a favor, and if you combine this with the corruption, incompetence, and a lack of coordination, you can see why NSFAS is collapsing. But those who have qualified for NSFAS are still better off than hundreds of thousands of young black people who qualify academically but do not have the funding to further their studies. Thank you very much.
The IFP.
Honorable Chair, thank you very much. I wish to begin by saying, Honorable Chair, says cartel. From my reading of the report, it appears that NSFAS has also been captured. This podium can be equated to a memorial lectern. Each and every occasion we debate the very same irregularities mismanagement, and quite frankly, the ineptitude of senior political office bearers and alleged corruption and collusion by the very same culprits. However, Chair, for the sake of the debate, allow me to raise the IFP's concern. Firstly, it is alarming that NSFAS has received a qualified audit for the year 2017-2018. And fair to this, NSFAS ranked up an astounding 284 million in irregular expenditure. What is more concerning, Honorable Chair, is the fact that the report makes mention of the fact that NSFAS has invested funds with financial institutions and fund management companies which were not approved by National Treasury, and this does raise a red flag. To compound matters, the ailing student scheme is stagnated in loans recoveries from former beneficiaries despite having procured the services of an external debt collection agencies. Honorable Chair, perhaps it's time now that members on my right-hand side set aside their default defense mode and simply admit that they've dropped the ball and have been sitting on their hands for far too long. Perhaps then we can go ahead with the clean-up process, much to their benefit and ours too, leaving a legacy of a well-run, efficient and effective and pro-poor student financial aid scheme. Honorable Chair, it is truly saddening that every time we take to this podium, we are forever repeating ourselves. It's frustrating to sound like a broken record. It's either we fix it or fall for it.
Honourable Member, your
Thank
time
you
has
very
expired.
much.
The NFP.
House Chairperson, thank you very much. The National Freedom Party subscribes to a notion of fee-free quality higher education for all students across the board and from family backgrounds, irrespective of their status. With the increase of VAT and petrol, it has become extremely difficult for parents to pay for the education of their children. NSFAS faced many challenges during the period under review. That is technical, administrative, communication, and also failure of management systems. The centralization of NSFAS meant not only that its operations got squeezed due to the shortage of human, physical, and technical resources, but it also impacted negatively on how students got their funds. There was no communication between NSFAS and tertiary institutions. It took a long time for monies to be dispersed to students. IT problems were so many. Students could not get the vouchers for their food, and most of them had to loiter around the street without accommodation for a long time. For 2017-2018 financial year, NSFAS received a qualified audit opinion, which was a regression from the unqualified audit opinion of 2016-2017 financial year. NSFAS lacked proper controls to deal with irregular expenditure. Online applications were wrongly recorded. NSFAS incurred irregular expenditure amounting to 284.7 million due to payments in excess of contractual agreements. The NFP raised these concerns. As the NFP, we want to applaud Minister Pando for interventions, but we saw the resignation of the chair of NSFAS and the appointment of the administrator and other officials. Now, we agree with the recommendation of the Portfolio Committee that NSFAS must improve internal control system to minimize risks of flouting the supply chain management systems. A robust advocacy campaign by NSFAS, department and institution is needed. And when it comes to SAQA, we know that this one...
Member, your time has expired.
We support the budget. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The ANC.
Thank you very much, Chairperson, honourable members, good afternoon. Thank you for the rousing welcome. Honourable Chair, indeed, the right to further education, we have all agreed that the Constitution says needs to be met through reasonable measures. And of course, all of that must, and of course we must make, and this must be done through progressively making available and providing access to all young people in the country. The African National Congress will not give up on ensuring that the National Student Financial Aid Scheme must remain committed to the Constitution and to ensure that this right is enjoyed by everyone so that they can seek access to education and training. NSFAS is important so that it can drive the medium-term framework and have as its priority the increase in access of students to colleges, to the universities, and so on. So indeed, there has been problems. The committee, the ANC, certainly will not give up in ensuring that the progress that has been made now is the progress that we will continue to hold NSFAS to account, and we do not think that we should give up on making sure that that is the case. Insofar as the South African Qualification Authority and the Quality Council for Trades and Occupation is concerned, indeed there has been improvements, and we are extremely excited that they're moving into the right direction in ensuring that we have a qualitative education regime in the country. We will absolutely support the fact
Honourable
that
Member,
SACWA
your time is now
needs to make
expired.
sure that the new legislation that we will bring will further enhance their work. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Member. There were no objections, so the report is agreed to. The Secretary will read the second order.
Consideration of budgetary review and recommendation report of Portfolio Committee on Higher Education and Training on Department of Higher Education and Training.
House Chairperson.
Yes, Honourable Member.
I don't want to be accused of somnambulance again, so we'd like to make a declaration.
We're getting there. I now recognize the Honourable Chief Whip of the Majority Party.
Honourable House Chair, I move that the report be adopted.
The motion is that the report be adopted. Are there any objections? There's no objections, but there's request for declarations. The DA.
Chair, we support this report, but it does reveal ominous signs of decay, which even this hard-working department is finding a challenge to fix. Some recent problems. Cows wandering through the libraries at Walter Sisulu University. Non-students running businesses from its residence rooms. Entrenched corruption in the residences of CPUT and others. Students are paying bribes to get rooms. Students are paying bribes for university places. Rates of rape and interpersonal violence are increasing. 800 million worth of damage was done during the Fees Must Fall protests. The turnover of vice-chancellors is very high, the job is awful, and many of the applicants are mediocre. College audits have regressed. Colleges are underfunded and can't contemplate teaching in new fields more appropriate to the 21st century. Insourcing has been at the expense of infrastructure investment, which is going down. Schools can't provide pupils with sufficient maths for programs that are essential for the country's future, so student numbers in engineering, science, and agriculture are all below target. And the pockets of excellence that we no doubt have in higher education are themselves finding it difficult to manage. Billions are being poured into the system at the moment, but it's just to pay for student fees. This money has little or no effect on the quality, stability, or integrity of education. We need a change of government in South Africa. We need a government which will take quality of education seriously, because this government does not. Thank you.
The EFF.
Thank you, Deputy. Our approach as the EFF to higher education as a country needs to change, and it starts with the Department of Higher Education. While commitments have been made to free education, this has not been realized, and it seems this was done to pacify students. What this country needs is a free, decolonized quality education. Free because if you commodify education, you make it inaccessible to those without resources. And in our country, this means the exclusion of black majority from education. But also, as a point of principle, education should be a right, not a privilege. And if you put a price on something, it cannot be a right. Decolonize education, because as people who for centuries have been colonized, dispossessed, exploited, and made to feel inferior, we need to regain our sovereignty, dignity, and sense of being. This does not only mean that African philosophy, African science, and various other subjects include African perspective and literature. It also requires for our education system to be radically transformed and our curriculum restructured so that our education system and the skills students acquire in the system become tools for us as people to break away from the neo-colonial relations of production, which have made us dependent on those who colonized us, leaving Africa in a permanent state of underdevelopment. Students realized this a long time ago and were willing to sacrifice their lives and future for this cause. Till today, many still remain in prison or are excluded from the higher education system. It is therefore for this reason that we as the EFF reject this BRRR. Thank you.
The IFP.
Siyabonga kakhulu Sihlalo. Affordability for tertiary studies remains a critical barrier to entry for students from historically disadvantaged background. Angazi Sihlalo noma sekufanele basivumelana lapha ukuthi iANC ngathi siyasawota ayisazweli kubantu abahluphekileyo. Sonke siyavumelana ukuthi ezemfundo esona sikhiye esosifini sekunqobeni ukuthi intsha ithola imisebenzi, sinqobe ububha kanye nokungalingani ikakhulukazi kwehlukanisweni komnotho. Uma kuhlelo lwezemfundo lungakhulumi nezinkinga esibhekene nazo, kufanele basivuna lapha endlini ukuthi ikusasa lezwe lempisholo. Njengokohlelo lwe-NDP olukhuluma ukuthi ngonyaka 2030 kufuna kuba ezemfundo zibe sezingeni eliphakeme noqeqesho ukuze sikwazi ukukhulisa umnotho. Asinakufika kulama targets uma uhlelo lwezemfundo lungezukufakelwa izibuko. Ukuze ke sifinyelele enkululekweni ngoqobo Sihlalo, sidingwazi ukuthi imfundo iwona mgomo wethu wokuqala ofanele basiqinisekise futhi asinakufinyelela ekuphumuleni uma singakafiki lapho. Ukuze ke uhlelo lwezemfundo lube ngolusezingeni, lokho kuqinisekiswa ukuthi lifumana isabelo mali esifanele, kube khona ubuholi obuqotho nazo zonke izinhlaka ezisekela ezemfundo zingaxegi iqiniswe. Wonke amazwe emhlabeni aphumelelayo into yokuqala ayiqaphelisayo ukuthi aqinisekise ukuthi ezemfundo izona ezibekwa phambili futhi uhulumeni uyaqinisekisa ukuthi akukho ukuganga emkhakheni wezemfundo. Njengeqembu le-IFP ke siyayisekela ireport le kwasisho ukuthi kuningi uhulumeni ofanele akwenze futhi fanele basivume ukuthi kukhona ukwehluleka kuye uhulumeni ophethe nakwamukele lokhu kuze kwazi ukuthi ayisize. Siyabonga Sihlalo.
The NFP.
Thank you, House Chairperson. We support this report. The Department of Higher Education should work tirelessly to ensure to improve production of many graduates in maths, science, engineering, science, technology, medicine, financial management, entrepreneurship, and chartered accountants. The unemployment rate stands at 27.5%, and it is worse with our youth because more than 57% of our youth are unemployed. And these youth face the brunt of poverty in our country. University and TVET college education must produce more occupationally directed, skilled, and capable people. In light of the lack of jobs, students must be trained to be job creators rather than job seekers. The system continues to fail students. There's a small percentage of learners who pass grade 12 with more than 50% in mathematics, and the enrollment target of 995,000 for students enrolled in public education studies was not achieved. The effective functioning of ICT in most higher education institutions is paramount to students accessing higher education. The department failed to disperse on time the infrastructure efficiency grant. This delay impacted negatively on student housing. We have seen students attacked, we've seen students raped or killed on their way to flats and other lodging facilities or communes. We send students to universities and TVET colleges to get education, not to be raped, not to be threatened, not to be with death or to be killed. Now, the NFP welcomes the increase in the number of candidates who graduated for the PhD and M degrees, but there is a need to increase numbers in maths, engineering, technology, and health sciences. The decrease of head count in TVET colleges, the decrease of beds and decaying infrastructure are all
Honourable
cause
Member,
for
your
concern.
time has expired.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. The ANC.
Thank you again, Honourable Chair. The ANC supports this report. Here are the achievements. We've been able to achieve 20,800 graduates in the initial teacher education from universities. We've been able to achieve 2,700 doctoral graduates from the universities. We have been able to achieve 100 additional first-time entrants, black and women. And we've been able to achieve 18,500 first-year students in foundation programs, as well as 205,000 eligible university students obtaining financial aid, the very NSFAS that we have. So we agree as the ANC, we are making at least steady progress, and therefore this report is quite important to be adopted. Honourable members, we note the history that has been made here in the House today by the Democratic Alliance finally adopting the BRRR report, finally. But of course, that's because they lost all the SRC elections countrywide. Thank you.
The report is agreed to. The Secretary will read the third order.
Consideration of budgetary review and recommendation report of Portfolio Committee on Trade and Industry.
I now recognize the Honourable Chief Whip of the Majority Party.
I move that the report be adopted.
The motion is for the report to be adopted. Are there any objections? There's no objections.
Yes, there's an objection, House Chair.
Is there an objection?
There's an objection, and we'd like to make a declaration.
Okay. The DA?
House Chairperson, there are 4 reasons why the DA cannot support the BRRR for trade and industry. Number 1, it is led by a minister who is now in full retirement mode as he looks towards 2019, allowing a budget that does not speak to the very real issues facing our economy, including ever-increasing regulation, added costs to doing business, and an ever-narrowing focus on triple BEE. Number 2, the DTI has become a department that almost weekly gets together and works out how to discourage investment rather than attract it. That's why the President had to call an investment conference himself, because the Minister and Department have done such a bad job for so many years. Number 3, we have a portfolio committee hell-bent on coming up with some of the worst legislation imaginable, from making it harder for poor black South Africans to access credit, to living in a universe filled with Chinese ideas like simply blocking the internet to ban the reality of online gaming. And fourthly, whenever it comes to holding people accountable for not doing something, the ANC is usually very scarce in numbers, and that explains why the ANC in the committee has been so unwilling to finalize the committee-led investigation into how Transnet ignored designations and local content requirements when purchasing 50 billion rand in locomotive. The ANC have found every reason not to finalize the inquiry, despite agreeing to it in November of 2017. The truth is that the budget review has just become another tick box exercise for this committee, and we will not support it. I thank you.
The EFF.
Chairperson, the EFF rejects this budgetary review and recommendation report. We do this because we view this as an utterly useless process. On numerous occasions, we have tabled cogent recommendations here and even at committee level on how we should rethink some of the interventions needed to catalyze economic growth in this country. But more often than not, these never see light of the day. This therefore has become a box-ticking exercise rather than a platform for substantive engagements or what needs to be done. Secondly, we reject this report because there's nothing new or fat. The ANC is still fixated on attracting foreign direct investment, and they are willing to undermine every other right citizens have in order to attract this. We are also willing to sell off our sovereignty as a nation for a slice of bread. By so doing, we have completely abrogated the role of state in development and handed over all our developmental aspirations to foreign direct investment. Your trust in the ability to capital to willing advance our developmental aspiration is completely misplaced. They demonstrated their cunning evil ways over the past 10 years because they disliked Zuma. They criminally withheld investments in the country, thereby driving the country to the near collapse. The only resolution to this problem is to decisively take control of the strategic sectors of the economy to redirect the processes of growth for the benefit of all. The EFF has further advised you that South Africa must introduce a bill that seeks to protect our local economy. Our country has potential to create jobs. The simple thing that you need to do, you need to stop importing yogurts, stop importing juices, and stop importing chickens, and start focusing on your own local economy and produce your own yogurt. Thank you very much.
The IFP.
Thank you, sir. There's nothing wrong with trade agreements with other influential economies, but the DTI must realize that China only...
Order, honourable members.
The DTI must realize that China only acts in its own interest. We must remember in this department that China buys almost exclusively coal, iron ore, and other mining commodities, and is in no way, shape, or form interested in any value-added trade that could otherwise enhance South African economy. Last year, the export of value-added goods to China from South Africa was only 7%. This was in sharp contrast to imports from China, which represented almost 90%. This glaring disparity and inequality clearly shows a massive threat to the local industries in South Africa, which already battle to survive from the damage that cheap Chinese imports on nearly every industrial and household product create. And this is clearly visible in our high unemployment rate and low growth. Minister Davies is probably unfamiliar with the reason as why the USA has implemented tariffs on Chinese imports in an attempt to save its own local industries. But he would be well advised to look into this matter. I thank you.
The ANC.
Good afternoon, Honourable Chair. Let me say at the outset that the ANC fully supports this budget review and recommendation report of the committee. Trade and industry has marched ahead steadily. We have a minister who's got a footprint in every country of the world, and as for indicating, one of the members here, DA members, indicated that actually the investment was so bad that the president had to actually run this conference. As a matter of fact, at that investment conference, other countries congratulated the Minister of Trade and Industry because 400 billion of that investment was already signed and sealed. A further 2.5 was brought in. So may I suggest that you study your financial reports much more carefully. And let me move on to the other thing. As for saying the ANC does not want to take action, we applauded the action taken against the South African Bureau of Standards, who actually compromised the protocols. There was speedy action from the department. Secondly, we are absolutely committed to ensuring that we do not compromise the health of our people by expedient measures in the National Regulator for Compulsory Services. And may I add, certainly to the EFF, we do support the point you made about localization, if only all South Africans, especially those in the elite areas, were as committed as we are in the ANC. We support this. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Member. Honourable Members, since there were objections, I'll put the question. Order. Those in favour will say aye, and those against will say no. I think the ayes have it.
House Chairperson, the DA would like to call for a division.
A division having been called, the bells will be rung for 5 minutes. Honourable members, will you take up your allocated seats, please? Honourable members, I would like to remind you that you may only vote from your allocated seat, and when requested to do so, members must simply indicate their vote by pressing the appropriate button. If a member inadvertently presses the wrong button, the member may thereafter press the button that he or she prefers. The last button pressed will be recorded as the member's vote when the voting session is closed. The question, order, honourable members. The question before the House is to consider the report, the budget review and recommendation report of the Portfolio Committee on Trade and Industry. Are all members now in the allocated seats? Voting will now commence. Those in favour of the report should press the yes button. Those against, the no button. And those wishing to abstain should press the abstain button. Have all members voted? There's hands at the back. Order, honourable members. The voting session is now closed. Why are you rising, honourable member? We're in the middle of a voting session.
Yeah, kontong bonutani kuyelelila. Asikwazi abantu bavele banyamalale nje ngabe kwenzakalani khona umlingo la. Kade sinabantu asibaboni bakuphi ngempela into amaphoyisa yini umsebenzi wabo. Sisenkingeni manje abantu asibaboni. Abantu abaphilayo labo abantu asebafa.
Thank you. I know at times, honourable member, they just mysteriously disappear. I don't know what happens to them. Honourable members, the outcome of the division is as follows. There's 118 in favour, there's 14 against. That gives us a total of 132. The question cannot be considered by the House because there's insufficient number of members available. So the report will stand over. Honourable members, we now come to motions without notice. Does any member of the ANC wish to give a motion without notice? We now at motions without notice. The ANC, do you have a motion without notice?
Yes, Chair.
Yes. The African National Congress moved without notice that
Honourable member, can you just stop? Honourable members, there's too many members moving around. You may continue, honourable member.
The African National Congress moved without notice that the House welcomed the election of the diplomat Sahle-Work Zewde as the Ethiopia's first female president. Also note that Sahle-Work was United Nations Under-Secretary General and a special representative of the Secretary General to the African Union recalls that she replaces Mulatu Toshome Wetu, who tendered his resignation to Parliament, acknowledges, however, that the president post is a ceremonial one in Ethiopia, as the Prime Minister, who is the head of state, holds executive power, recognizes that Setlawek becomes the fourth president since the ruling of the EPARDF coalition came to power. I'm being disturbed. I am being disturbed.
Honorable members, there's too much noise in the House. The House is to consider a motion without notice. You cannot make an informed decision if you don't listen to the motion.
Recognizes that Setlawek becomes the fourth president since the ruling of the EPRDF coalition came to power. Also recognizes that the Prime Minister reshuffled his cabinet and appointed 10 female ministers, making Ethiopia the third country in Africa after Rwanda and Seychelles to achieve gender parity in the cabinets. Trusts that her appointment as a female head of the state will advise and bolster the recognition of more women in the decision makers in public life in that country. Also trusts that her appointment will also seek to advance gender transformation agenda in all areas of social endeavor, and wishes Setlawek a success in her new position of responsibility.
Honourable members, if there are no objections, I put the motion. No objections, agreed to. The DA?
I hereby move on behalf of the Democratic Alliance that this House notes that a wildfire that started on the 24th of October has been raging through the Southern Cape. Further notes that the fire has claimed 8 lives, of which 6 were children. Also notes that the George and Knysna municipalities in the Garden Route have commenced with the evacuation of residents in the affected areas of Blanco and Riedendal. And also thanks the amazing fire department and emergency services for their excellent work in fighting the fire. Wil ook 'n woord van dank rig aan die Weskaap Premier Helen Zille, asook Minister Ellen Windy, wat tyd in hul besige skedule gemaak het om die gebied te besoek. I so move. Thank you.
If there are no objections, I put the motion. No objections, agreed to. The EFF?
Thank you, House Chair. I hereby rise on behalf of the economic freedom fighters and move that the House notes that on this day, 64
Order, honourable members.
That on this day, 64 years ago, the Algerian War of Independence began. It was a war waged by the colonized and oppressed people of Algeria against the oppressive colonial regime of France. For over a century, the French had colonized Algeria like they had much of Africa, and under their rule, the land and resources of Algeria was expropriated, while the people of Algeria and their labor was exploited for profit. But the Algerian people are fighters, and on 1 November 1954, they took up arms to fight for what was theirs. The War of Independence was a brutal and violent war, with the barbaric French army engaging in mass torture and execution of civilians. By the time the war ended in 1962, over 1 million Algerians had lost their lives. Remember those who lost their lives in the noble struggle for freedom, and honor their legacy by committing ourselves to the total liberation of Africa and the realization of economic freedom in our lifetime. I so move.
If there are no objections, I put the motion. No objections, agreed to. The ANC?
Thanks, Chair. The African National Congress moves without notice that the House notes the United Nations General Assembly proclaimed 2 November as International Day to End Impunity for Crimes Against Journalists. Further notes that the date was chosen in commemoration of the assassination of 2 French journalists in Mali on 2 November 2018. Recalls that the past 12 years, close to 1,010 journalists have been killed for reporting the news and bringing information to public. Realizes that the impunity leads to more killings and is often a symptom of worsening conflict and breakdown of law and judicial system. Acknowledges the resolution of the United Nations General Assembly, urging member states to implement definite measures countering the present culture of impunity. Further acknowledges that this landmark resolution condemns all attacks, violence against journalists and media workers. Understand that it further calls upon states to promote a safe, enabling environment for journalists to perform their work independently without undue interference. Calls upon countries to observe the resolution and promote safety of journalists. I so move.
If there are no objections, I put the motion. No objections, agreed to. The IFP.
Honorable House Chairperson, I move without noting of the IFP that the House one notes that yesterday, Wednesday, the 31st of October, marked World Cities Day. Further notes that the day greatly promotes the international community's interest in global urbanization, push forward cooperation among countries in meeting opportunities and addressing challenges of urbanization, and contributing to sustainable urban development around the world. Acknowledges that cities need support to become resilient and develop their capacity to absorb the impact of hazards, protect and preserve human life, and limit damage to and destruction of public and private assets while continuing to provide infrastructure and services after a crisis. Further acknowledges that this is particularly important for us in this country because we are faced with a flurry of issues that affect us every single day that emanate directly from poor planning for the gradual increase in the proportions of people moving from rural to urban areas. Appreciates that urbanization provides the potential for new forms of social inclusion, including greater equality, access to services, and new opportunities for those who otherwise not have them. And finally, calls on government to ensure that they partake in the observation of this day so as to draw ideas and clues from the global community in addressing the issues associated with people moving to urban areas. I so move. Thank you, Chair.
If there are no objections, I put the motion. No objections, agreed to. The NFP.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. On behalf of the NFP, I move without notice that this House notes that the Democratic Republic of Congo is going for second national elections on the 23rd of December 2018. Notes that there are 25 presidential candidates contesting these elections. Further notes that the current President, Kabila, has announced his intention not to contest these incoming elections. Wherefore, we call upon this House to wish the people of the Congo peaceful and successful elections. I so move.
If there are no objections, I put the motion. No objections, agreed to. The ANC.
Honorable Chair, the African National Congress moves without notice that the House notes with sadness the death of 7 family members, 3 women and 4 children who were discovered buried under piles of sand in bedrooms of the house in Vlakfontein on Monday, the 29th of October 2018. Recalls that a woman and 3 children were initially found buried underneath sand in one room. Police then proceeded to a back room in the same yard where 3 more bodies, 2 women and a child, were discovered, also buried beneath sand. Understands that the discovery was made after the police officers responded to a complaint from a community member on a stench coming from the house. Acknowledges that a man believed to be a foreign national with multiple identities and claiming to be a doctor at Charlotte Maxeke Hospital, Academic Hospital, is being held for questioning by police. Commends the government of Gauteng for the support and commitment to help the family with medical attention and burial, and conveys condolences to the Khoza family on death of their loved ones. I so move.
If there are no objections, I put the motion. No objections, agreed to. The UDM.
Thank you, Chair. I move without notice on behalf of the UDM that the House notes with sadness the murder of Viwe Dalingozi, allegedly by her partner. Further notes that it is alleged that the partner burned her in her Johannesburg flat in the early hours of Friday, 26th of October. She later died on Sunday, the 28th, due to the severity of the burn wounds. Sends its deepest condolences to the family of the victim. Calls for the law enforcement agencies to leave no stone unturned during its investigation surrounding the circumstances of this sad death. This investigation must be concluded with utmost urgency. Calls for the aggressive implementation of civic education on gender, in particular, starting from the 16 days of activism against gender-based violence and throughout the year. I so move.
If there are no objections, I put the motion. No objections, agreed to. The Freedom Front Plus, the Democratic Alliance.
Dankie, voorsitter. Hiermee stel ek namens die Demokratiese Alliansie voor dat die huis kennis neem van plaaslike boere, produsente, verskeie vragmotormaatskappye en vragmotoreienaars van die Swartland en Bergriviergebied wat die afgelope week saamgestaan het om 18 vragmotors vol voer na die droogte getuisterde Namakwaland streek te stuur. Verder kennis neem dat die voer geskenk was deur produsente van die Swartland Bergrivierstreek om vir ongeveer 50 boere in die gebiede van Garries, Loeriesfontein en Kamieskroon in die Noord-Kaap by te staan en te help. Verder kennis te neem en dat die boereverenigings en lede bedank word vir hulle bereidwilligheid om te mobiliseer en om in te spring met werwing en logistieke beplanning om hierdie hulp en ondersteuning vanuit die Weskus koringgebied te kon realiseer. Verder kennis neem van die geweldige bydrae van die hooforganiseerder en fasiliteerder van die droogtehulp vir boere projek, meneer Burger, wat sedert die droogtehulp projek begin het en Mei 2017 betrokke is en reeds 907 vragte georganiseer en afgelewer het en dat hy sy teiken van 1000 vragte voor Kersfees vanjaar wil behaal. En laastens dat hy hiermee hartlik bedank word. Ek stel so voor.
If there are no objections, I put the motion. No objections, agreed to. The EFF.
House Chair, I hereby rise on behalf of the economic freedom fighters that the House welcome the ruling of the Constitutional Court on the 25th of October, overturning an eviction order which would have resulted in the community of Lesitleng in Northwest being forced off their land to make way for mining. Note that the decision of the 2008 by the Department of Mineral Resources to grant a mining license to the mining companies on land occupied by the Lesitleng community was unconstitutional and a continuation of centuries of land dispossession of black South Africans by mining companies and white monopoly capitalists facilitated by the state. Further acknowledge that the ruling by the High Court in the land not only protects the community of Lesitleng from being evicted, but sets a legal precedent which in future will prevent any attempt by mining companies to use our people's land without their consent. Call on the Department of Mineral Resources to note the decision by the Constitutional Court and allow the court's ruling to guide the granting of the mining licenses in future. This ruling unequivocally says to all and sundry, put peoples before profit. I so move.
If there are no objections, I put the motion. No objections, agreed to. The ANC.
Thank you, Chair. The African National Congress moved without notice that the House notes with sadness the killing of 3 people at Nyanga Taxi Rank on Friday, 19 October 2018. Also notes that 3 men in their 40s were shot and fatally wounded by unidentified men who entered a meeting and fired shots at the victims. Deplores the increase in crime, particularly in Nyanga area, calls upon the community of Nyanga to come forward and assist the law enforcement agencies in apprehending the perpetrators, support the investigation of these matters to bring the book those responsible, convey its condolences to the deceased families and wishes those injured a speedy recovery. I so move.
Good, thank you. Thank you. Are there any objections to the motion? No objections, agreed to. COPE? ACDP? ANC?
The African National Congress moves without notice that the House notes with great shock and dismay the accident on the N4 highway in Mpumalanga, which has claimed 14 lives and left 11 injured on Friday evening, 26 October 2018. Also notes that the horror crash happened between Mbombela and Malilan and involved 2 trucks, 1 minibus, a taxi, and 1 sedan. Further notes that the collision occurred as one of the vehicles believed to be the taxi was attempting to overtake. The driver of the other vehicle then swerved to avoid the overtaking vehicle, resulting in a crash with one of the trucks. Believes most road accidents are caused by human error and disobeying of road safety regulations. Appeals to the motorists to always observe and respect the road safety regulations, especially as we approach the festive season. Supports the investigation that is underway to ascertain the cause of the accident and conveys its condolences to the families of the deceased and wish those injured a speedy recovery. I so move.
Thank you. Are there no objections to the motion? No objections agreed to. AIC, Ahang SA, ANC.
Thank you, Chair. I move on behalf of the African National Congress without notice that the House commemorates Media Freedom Day and the anniversary of Black Wednesday annually on October 19. As in 1977, South Africa's apartheid government banned 3 publications, The World, Weekend World, and the church publication Pro Veritate, and outlawed 17 apartheid groups during a 1-day crackdown which came to be known as Black Wednesday. Notes that in South Africa, the media enjoys editorial independence and our constitution is unambiguous about the protection of media freedom. Believes that while the freedom of media should be protected, media has a responsibility to protect, to report fairly, truthfully, avoid exaggeration and departure from the facts. Uses this day to recognize the role the media as it plays an important role towards strengthening our democracy, as media freedom is one of the cornerstones of our democracy, and this freedom should be guarded at all times, and calls upon South Africans to recognize and support media freedom by deepening relations with the media to reflect genuine South African stories. I so move.
Thank you. Are there any objections to the motion? No objections agreed to. APC, PAC. DA?
I hereby move on behalf of the Democratic Alliance that this House notes that a recent Greenpeace analysis has identified Mpumalanga as the world's largest air pollution hotspot across 6 continents. Also notes that the Witbank area has the dirtiest air in the world. Further notes that South Africa has the most polluting cluster of coal-fired power stations in the world, and calls on all relevant government departments and ministries to revisit this national air pollution crisis with the urgency it deserves. I so move.
Thank you. Are there no objections to the motion? No objections agreed to. ANC?
Thank you, House Chair. The African National Congress moves without notice that the House notes with sadness the killing of the Chilean tourist Salvo Yaksik, whose body was discovered with stab wounds at a Ladysmith mortuary over the weekend. Recalls that, according to reports, Yaksik was last seen alive between Dundee and Underberg in KwaZulu-Natal on 24th September 2018. Also recalls that a passerby found his body on 13 October 2018 outside Ladysmith and alerted the local authorities. Her father, Sergio, identified his son's body on Saturday, bringing a tragic end to the search for the Chilean backpacker who had been missing in KwaZulu-Natal for over 3 weeks. Finds the incident tragic and deplorable, condemns this act of barbarism in the strongest terms possible, calls on law enforcement agencies to ensure that This matter is investigated thoroughly and to leave no stone unturned until the perpetrators are brought to book, and conveys its condolences to the family of Mr. Yaksik on this tragedy. I so move.
Thank you. Are there any objections to the motion? No objections, agreed to. That concludes motions without notice. The next item on the order paper is member statements. Any member of the ANC who wish to make a statement? Yes, ma'am.
As part of celebrating the life of the struggle icon Mama Albertina Sisulu, the Northwest Legislature brought services of government closer to the people when they organized health screening stations for people to test their high blood pressure, cholesterol, and diabetes as part of promoting wellness on Friday, 26 October 2018 in the Brit Sport Complex. Above 2,500 senior citizens from Boyanala's district and 360 from other districts participated in various sporting activities, which includes a fun run, soccer, netball, and indigenous games. Mama Albertina Sisulu was a political activist, a nurse, and one of the most influential leaders in the anti-apartheid resistance in South Africa, and was often referred to as the mother of the nation. She spent her life alongside her late husband and the struggle icon Walter Sisulu, fighting for human rights in the country and the world. She was one of the organizers of the historic Antipas Women's March in 1956 and opposed to the Bantu education phenomena. She was the one who elected Tata Mandela as the first black president of the Republic of South Africa. The ANC commends the Northwest Legislature for working hand in hand with pensioners to ensure that they are prioritized when delivering services to the communities. I thank you.
Thank you. DA?
Thank you, Chairperson. We must face the fact that President Cyril Ramaphosa's new path of economic growth, of employment, and of transformation has been shattered. We have had summits, we have had conferences, and we have had dialogues on economic growth, on employment, and on transformation. But the more summits we have, the more conferences we have, and the more dialogues we have, the more unemployment we have. We now have a staggering 9.75 million people who do not have jobs or who have given up looking for jobs. And we have a staggering 6.1 million young people who do not have jobs or who have given up looking for jobs. They live without dignity, without independence, and without freedom. We are in this situation because President Cyril Ramaphosa is a man without a plan to fix the economy. The fact is that as long as President Cyril Ramaphosa and the commissars who support him, like the Honorable Ibrahim Patel, have a job, then the 9.75 million people who do not have jobs or who have given up looking for jobs will never have a job. So let us come together in our thousands. Let us come together in our hundreds of thousands. Let us come together in our millions and fire them in election 2019.
Thank you. EFF?
As the economic freedom fighters, we are seriously concerned by the acute housing crisis facing poor African people in this country. This is manifested year after year through regular shack fires, which leave behind trails of destruction and despair. The fire that burned down hundreds of shacks in Kailicha, in Samora, in Maspumelele, here in Cape Town, and many others around the country point to just one postulate. The ANC and the Democratic Alliance do not give a rat's behind about the plight of our poor people. The DA in the city of Cape Town has gone to the extent of stocking up shack replacement material, costing millions of rands, instead of ensuring that our people are properly housed. This is because to the white masters of the DA, it is perfectly okay for black people to live in shacks and to be kept there. They always boast about Cape Town having the lowest rate of joblessness because the idea of jobs is having black people cleaning white people's underwear. The ANC is not any better. There's no visionary resolution of the housing crisis in this country, because most of the land needed to build houses is in the hands of the tiny minority of white families. The only enduring resolution to this crisis is through legalizing land expropriation without compensation and build people houses closer to the areas they work in. Shacks must be completely abolished because they are nothing more than a rat-infested labor concentration camps. Thank you.
Thank you. ANC.
As ANC, we applaud. As ANC, we applaud two local organizations, Flight Center Foundation and the Clean Sea NGO, as well as the international organization Solar Body from Australia, for lending a hand in the Tuma Mina campaign by donating 1,730 solar lights to Makoni Beam Primary School recently. This is an example that other organizations should follow. The donated lights will help them study at night. It gives pupils an opportunity to improve their education capabilities, as most of them live in Joe Slovo Park, a mix of informal and formal housing between Milnerton, Montague Village, and use kerosene lamps when studying at home at night. They are much safer than candles or other types of lamps, and of course, solar power is free. Children will now be able to focus without thinking of danger or threats of danger caused by the risk of burning candles and lamps. Once again, the ANC thanks the partnership of local and international organizations in making it easier for our children to learn. South Africa needs a renewal that will not come from a gift or a messiah, but from a sense of energy and believe that each of us has the responsibility to create a better tomorrow. Nakensa.
I can see level. IFP.
Thank you, Chairperson. The issuing of mining licenses negligently has led to many licenses being issued, which has now proven almost unmanageable. Illegal mining operations are fast spiraling out of control, which apart from being a burden on a taxpayer, also carries environmental, health, and of course safety issues. Small-scale mining usually operates in remote and unregulated areas and is nearly impossible to tax and also poses the same security challenges as illegal mining operations. There are 6,150 abandoned mines in South Africa where the ore bodies on most are still better than anywhere else in the world. The Minerals and Mining Amendment Act would do so much to reduce the onslaught of illegal miners. This prohibits every form of illegal mining and criminalizes mining without a license. Innovation in terms of business solutions and better cohesiveness between mining companies, labor and policy implementation is of the utmost importance. Adjustments and reinforcements from government are urgently needed. It is therefore essential for government to responsibly deal with the associated social problems for both small-scale and illegal mining operations, such as conflict, damage to the environment, health risk, and child labor, when such operations are being conducted in remote and rural areas. Thank you.
Thank you. UDM. ANC, Babu Kamet.
Siyabonga Sihlalo. The ANC took a resolution in Polokwane that our government should exhume the bodies of former liberation fighters who died at the hands of the apartheid regime and who hand over the remains to the families for reburial. These are not just ANC members, but PAC and other liberation movements. The intent is to bring closure to many families for their loved ones to be buried next to them. On Sunday, on the 28th of October, the exhumed bodies of two former PAC martyrs, Gibile Hans and Johannes Jabavu, who were hanged at the Pretoria Central Prison, were handed over to their families for reburial. They were hanged at the prison gallows for incidents that took place during intense political turmoil between 1963 and 1967. At that time, bodies of hanged prisoners remained in the property of the state and families were not permitted to attend the burials. This event follows the reburial of 6 more members of POCO who were hanged in 1963. The bodies of 6 PAC members who were exhumed on Wednesday, the 24th of October 2018 at the Mamelodi West Cemetery. The ongoing exhumations form part of the Gallows Exhumation Project aimed at recovering the remains of political prisoners who were hanged at the gallows prior to the suspension of the death penalty in 1990. The ANC is pleased that our fellow liberation fighters, the PAC and other liberation movement has approved these programs which the government is executing. I thank you.
Thank you. ACDP, ANC. Oh, are you there? No, you are not ACDP.
I was always there. Okay.
No.
The URM is astonished.
Honorable Filtani, why are you coming in?
You called URM and then quickly you said ANC. So I thought it was a slip of the tongue.
Okay, continue, Babu Filtani.
Thank you for accommodating me, Chair. The URM is astonished by the failure of the legal bodies to nominate a woman to lead the National Prosecuting Authority. We share the deep concern of the President about this bizarre lack of gender representation among candidates for this critical office in our constitutional democracy and the justice system in particular. It exposes the urgency with which we need to address the task of transforming the legal fraternity of our country. It is certainly impossible that there are no credible and equally competitive women to discharge this function. It may be prudent that the President widens the scope of nominating bodies and, if it is permissible in law, to emphasize the need to consider women. As part of our transformation, we must start by changing our mindset. It cannot be that after 24 years into democracy, our thinking processes are still imprisoned by the demon of patriarchy. The initiative of the Pan-African Bar Association of South Africa, which was launched last Tuesday, 23rd October, has to be appreciated and supported. One of its aims is to ensure that black and female advocates are briefed to argue cases involving commercial, tax, and construction law. Through this initiative, we must root sexism out of the system. In the words of Justice Ngobo during the 10-year celebrations of the South African Legal Fellowship Network, he's made the following statement, and I quote, "We need to transform our society as envisioned by the Constitution that introduced a new constitutional order with values which our democracy is made of. Human rights are at the heart of transforming our institutions, including law firms. We need to recognize that at the eve of our democracy, we had one of the most unequal societies in the world. That included unequal employment opportunities. The Constitution has put in place measures that are designed to address matters of the previously disadvantaged so that they can enjoy the country, what the country has to offer. Transformation is required by the Constitution." Unquote. I thank you.
Thank you. ACDP, are you there? No. ANC.
Yes, thank you, Honourable Chair. The ANC welcomes the exemptions for aluminium and steel from Section 232 duties by the US Department of Commerce. After the proclamation by President Trump on steel and aluminium products for South Africa, and then South Africa, through the Minister of Trade and Industry, made constructive submissions to the US government, which has now been positively acknowledged by President Trump. This impacts significantly on the retention of jobs that were threatened by United States duties. These product exemptions are applicable to companies whose buyers in the United States made requests to the Commerce Department for products to be excluded from Section 232 duties. The ANC government urges domestic exporters of steel and aluminium to encourage their buyers and distributors to apply for exemption from Section 232 duties to the US Department of Commerce. We want to recognize, as the African National Congress, as I'm sure many others in this House, the efforts of Minister Davies through his constructive engagement with the United States authorities, including the US representative, Ambassador Lighthizer, and Secretary of Commerce.
Unfortunately, your
Wilbur
time
Ross.
is up.
Indeed, this means
Honourable-
that trade will reach 161
Thank you.
billion in 2017.
DA? I'm waiting for DA.
I was just laughing, Chair. Corruption by ANC office holders in Limpopo continues to betray the future of that province's children. In August this year, the DA discovered another disgrace. In 2010, the ANC had promised to build the Ratotunku Primary School in Mogalakwena. This is still just an open piece of felt. The people of Masori village refer to it now as the invisible school. There's no scholar transport and learners have to walk long distances, crossing 2 national roads, which already cost the life of 7 children. In October, just 19 months after the grand ANC-style opening by the MEC Ishmael Gechepi, the Wafamadi Secondary School in Vuwani, Limpopo, is declared unsafe. Classrooms and parts of the administration centre have been cordoned off to block access to unsafe areas. Makeshift lintels and wooden poles support parts of buildings that threaten to collapse at any time. The ANC has promised to closely monitor contracts to build schools. If they are, how did this happen? How on earth did the non-profit organisation run by a Limpopo boxing promoter with no experience of or track record in the construction or building industry receive the 28 million rand lotto grant to oversee the building of the school? But no eyebrows
Thank you.
raised. The ANC doesn't
Thank
care.
you. Your time is up. EFF? EFF?
Ngicela umsindo uthula uthi tu. Sihlalo wami ngithi lana ke ngizwakalise nanti usizi olubhekene nabantu bakithi. Kunabantu abahlaliswa kulezi zindlu okuthiwa olindela. Ngokomthetho lezi zindlu engolindela akuzona izindlu enithi ngesingisi permanent house. Leza zindlu ngokomthetho basuka abantu besabekwe okwesikhashana kuzona while kube kusakhiwa ezinye izindlu. Kodwa lapha eThekwini kunobugebengu engabazi ukuthi sokubiza ngani nale mayor khona ukuthi uZandile Gumede. E75 eLamonti abantu bakhona bahlale lapha ya 15 years kolindela. Mawuya efolweni abantu bahlala kolindela. Engikukhumbula kahle usihlalo ngale NSOP umama Honorable Dlamini sino Honorable Khawula saze saya eThekwini sayohlala lapha noMondlo kaMthembu siyokhuluma ngaleza zindlu basithembisa ukuthi bazozisukumela udaba. Abantu bayagula lapha ya leza zindlu zincane and okubuhlungu kunakho konke ubaba yingane ulala lapha. Ngifuna ukubuza ukuthi kanti abantu bakithi benzani? Why abantu bakithi njalo nje mawuthi uyakhuluma ngabo uenza kana nkinga and mawubheka abantu abamnyama ngeke ubone olunye uhlanga lihlala lapha. Wesihlalo ngicela ungangivali ngoba lento le ibalekile.
No mama akusithi
kwawena futhi
isikhathi sakho siphelile maruzwakele.
And 2019 siyathatha.
Ngiyabonga. ANC?
The
Thank you,
ANC
House Chair.
applauds the law enforcement agencies for a job well done in shutting down a drug laboratory in a house in Mayberry Park at Alberton in Ekurhuleni. They confiscated drugs believed to be worth more than 1 million. The success of the police operation has been made possible by patriotic and law-abiding citizens who tipped the police off about suspicious activity at the said property. The Gauteng Narcotic Unit pounced on the house, found large amounts of tick and cat, as well as various equipment and chemicals used to manufacture the drugs, and a suspect aged 35 inside the house was arrested. The ANC welcomed the community's cooperation with the police. It is through such cooperation in July 2018 that a law enforcement agencies brought down a major drug operation in Harding, KwaZulu-Natal. The ANC and the South African population have confidence in the police and resolutely stand by them to intensify the campaign against drug and substance abuse and shutting down of more drug laboratories in our country. I thank you.
Thank you. PAC, not here. ANC?
Solwesihlalo. Ngokukhulu ukuhlonipha ngane yakwethu angilwi nawe ngiyabonga. Ayi wena ave ngikuthanda. Bengithi mina ngokwami bengizocela uhonorable uPeg Nkonyane because ade semkhandlweni lapha. Ake kube uyena ositshela ukuthi uthini ngalabantu bangalolu daba.
Ngizocela ukuthi okay mama ngizocela ukuthi uyokhuluma naye lapha yana. Hayi lapha kuleyo mic. Ungaya uzokumukela kahle nje ukhulume naye.
Chairperson. Over here.
Yes, ma'am. ANC, yes.
Thank you. Chairperson, it is abundantly clear that the DA leader has been captured by a small, predominantly white cabal and a very arrogant and conservative one at that. The group of predominantly men, young men, present him as the face of the DA, while they actually try to pull his strings behind the scenes. DA leaders...
Honorable Chief Whip of the DA, I can't hear, I can only hear you. Please, continue, ma'am.
DA leaders who are not prepared to toe the cabal line are being hounded out of the party and then accused of being corrupt. The latest victim was the mayoral committee member, Brett Heron. A former DA youth member and law student at University of Stellenbosch posted an opinion piece this morning on News 24. He said, and I quote, "Any member who is considered rebellious is deemed to be corrupt." That freedom of thought and of speech was being suppressed in the DA, that strict control was exercised over members' views, and that emails instructed them what to say on social media. More left-wing views and leaders expressing such views were branded black nationalists. The
Thank
bottom
you. Your
line
time is now
Speaker,
expired.
the DA is fake.
Thank you.
Thank you.
DA, order, members. Order.
House Chair.
Honorable members, please. We're still in the House. The work must go on. You can share whatever outside these rooms. Thank you. DA.
House Chair, the great VBS bank heist, orchestrated and facilitated by ANC and EFF heavyweights, such as Danny Mnisi, Florence Radzilani, the Shavambu brothers, and more recently, Minister Zweli Mkhize, has had a huge impact on municipalities and citizens across the length and breadth of South Africa. The latest victim is West Rand District Municipality, who confirmed that they were unable to pay the salaries of municipal staff this month. The municipality lost a total of 77 million rand through illegal deposits with VBS. Yesterday, workers held councillors and senior managers hostage for more than 12 hours while trying to sort out the financial crisis. This municipality has not taken any action against the municipal manager or chief financial officer, and these two officials are refusing to cooperate with investigators. The municipality has not implemented an approved financial recovery plan. They have gone so far as to claim that their actions were legal having obtained a legal opinion that flies in the face of the Municipal Finance Management Act and municipal finance regulations. And neither the national nor the provincial executives have intervened as they are constitutionally obligated to do in terms of Section 139 of the Constitution. The DA is now looking at legal action to ensure that the Minister of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs and the provincial and national executives comply with their legal duty and place this dysfunctional municipality under immediate administration.
Thank you.
On a point
ANC.
of order. ANC.
No point of order, Chair.
What's your point of order, member?
Yeah, Chairperson, can the DA member over here, Member Malem, withdraw what he just said? That they are Shivambu brothers. There is no Shivambu brothers on the report. There is one Shivambu. There is no Shivambu brothers. Except for the gossip which their own Kachalia has withdrawn.
Thank you very much, Honorable Member. I don't think
They must not come here and lie. They
Honorable
withdrew
Member,
that statement.
No, Honorable
No, he
Member.
must withdraw that.
No, Honorable Member.
Why
No,
no?
Honorable
Why not?
Member.
There is no Shivambu brothers. There is a brother. There is one Shivambu brother. There is no Shivambu brothers on the report.
Pardon us, honorable members. Something is happening. Thank you. Honorable Mente, I cannot ask him to withdraw because he's talking about the Shibambo brothers. I don't know which Shibambo brothers he's talking about, whatever. So I'm not going to allow that withdrawal.
Chairperson, you know very well what he means.
No, I don't.
You know very well what he means.
On this chair.
Kachalia withdrew
on
that
this chair.
statement.
On this chair.
No, he says
Honorable
Shivambu
member,
brothers.
please take your
There
seat.
is no Shivambu brothers
Honorable
on
member,
the...
take your seat. Why are you standing, Honorable Steenhuisen?
That your ruling is being sustained. Are you sustaining?
No,
the ruling?
I'm done.
Great.
Can we continue? Honorable members, that concludes member statements.
Chairperson, you can't do that.
No, honorable members, I'm not going to take a guess as to who the person is talking about. So don't feel offended by that. I am doing my work here, and if you want a point of debate, you will get it from him. Thank you. I continue now. Honorable members, the statements are done. Can we have the responses? On what point of order are you rising, honorable member?
Thank you very much, Chair. I'm just checking with you. If you are saying that you can't take a guess, why don't you ask him which Shivambu's brothers is he referring to?
That has never happened, and
no,
it's not
ask him,
within
Chair,
my
because we
ambit.
know there's only one Shivambu in this house, Chair. Why are you allowing DA?
Honorable member, he has never talked about a member of this house. So he talked about the Shivambo brothers. So what? I'm done with that issue. Honorable members, if you are not happy with my ruling, you know you can take it to the Rules Committee. I'm not going to allow you to continue like that. Honorable Kasa, the Minister.
Chairperson. Chair. You didn't call our name, Chairperson. We
No.
received the question, yes. As
You are-
AIC was supposed to read the statement.
I don't have AIC here. I think there are groups. I'm not sure how they work.
But I was informed that I'm going to read one here. I'm not sure now what happened.
No, I don't have AIC on my documents.
Very much unfortunate.
Unfortunate, Bab. Thank you. Honorable Kasa, continue.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. On the statement from Honorable Babasa, indeed, we applaud the two organizations as well, because education is a societal matter. And we also applaud the President for having led and brought together government, private sector, and labor as part of South Africa to go on a united front, which then lays a basis even for international organizations and private businesses to contribute to what South Africa seeks to do moving forward. With the successful job summit with clear deliverables, as well as the investment summit, we're looking forward to more of such contributions coming even into the rural areas. On the member who talked about the UDM member on the issue of gender representation on the submission on the NPA, we can't agree more with you, Honorable Member, but to also appreciate the leadership of the President, because he has picked it himself and is making an intervention onto the matter. We unfortunately are not happy as well, because you can see in some of the structures, you can see patriarchy snarling its ugly head continuously, not realizing that women have got the capabilities. And transformation in South Africa is just a must. It is not something that you just must leave it without seeing it happening. And lastly, that we continue to ensure that we bring and continue with the progress.
Your time has now expired. Thank you, ma'am. Minister Patel.
Thank you very much, House Chair. Honorable Mainir draws attention to the serious problems of unemployment. Unfortunately, he spoils it by confusing insult with analysis and with policy formulation. Honorable Mainir, the sky will not fall on your head if you celebrate with us some of our successes. So you referred to the latest unemployment data. Would it hurt you to point out to the House and to the nation that over the last 12 months, 188,000 additional new jobs were created? Would it hurt you if you pointed out to the nation that in the last quarter, 92,000 new jobs were created? Would it hurt you if you pointed out to the nation that 102,000 jobs were created by the private sector in business services, and we're working with them, as we indicated at the investment summit? Would it hurt you if you pointed out that the province with the biggest generator of new jobs was Limpopo with 41,000 new jobs? That the province with the second biggest generator of new jobs was Gauteng with 22,000 new jobs? That the province with the third biggest generators of new jobs was Mpumalanga with 20,000 new jobs? Celebrate with us. I wish members of the DA could have been at the investment conference. You would have in fact been inspired by the views of investors, the increasing confidence that they have, and the sense that we are working together to tackle South Africa's employment challenges, to grow this economy, to provide opportunities to young people, to create more opportunities for small businesses. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Deputy Minister Chikunga.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. A member of the DA raises the issue about children who are crossing 2 national roads and 7 of whom have been killed. I do request that we be provided with that information so that we can see for ourselves as to whether there is anything that can be done for those children, particularly who cross 2 national roads. If we can be provided with that information. Member of the ANC praise Ma Nontsikelelo Albertina Sisulu, a nurse by profession. And I just want to share with the House that in one of the memorial lectures, a woman said she went to her as a midwife to request for the insertion of the IUCD, that is loop, known as loop. And she checked her and found that in actual fact, she was pregnant. And because she was this committed, ethical, and professional nurse, she was able to make that diagnosis and therefore not insert the loop, which otherwise would have actually caused abortion. And it is women and professionals that are like Masi Sulu, who are professionals and ethical in their conduct, that we require today and which we think we can be able to produce. I just want to second and to appreciate that statement, and I thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Minister. I still have slots. Maybe I didn't see your hands. Oh, Babu Buteles.
Thank you, Honorable House Chair. Just to pick up on what Honorable Gamete said about the patriots who have been exhumed, patriots who were secretly buried by the apartheid regime. We needed to commend government. We needed to commend Kulumani. We need to commend Advocate Sebenza, who are working on this thing, that those people who were secretly buried, they must be followed up, and we call upon those who were involved in those actions to join the brigade of people who are trying just to find the bones, nothing more than that, so that those patriots can be given a decent burial.
Thank you. Any other? Do we still have a member of the executive who wish to respond? I still have a slot.
Can we assist, because it seems as if they don't want to.
No, I didn't allow you to speak.
okay.
You can't do that. Honorable Masuku?
Thank you, Honorable Chair. A member of the EFF has raised a matter on areas of informal settlement. When we deal, indeed, it's a concern for all of us, and we're actually engaging as government, and we don't look whether this party that is ruling there is ANC or is DA or is EFF. What we look at our people and their suffering. And into that effect, here in Cape Town, we're working together with our counterparts here to find out solution in relation to land matters, in relation to issues that have got to address water, issues that had to address issues of human settlement. Yesterday and on Tuesday, there's a conference that is going on in Johannesburg, and it is looking at how best we can actually look at spatial planning in such a way that our people, when they move into urban areas, can be able to find suitable places with water and all other facilities. And that, we believe that is going to take us a step forward. It will be difficult for us to ban. It will be difficult for us to ban informal settlement because we'll be punishing our poor people that are moving into urban areas who do not have immediate access to places of stay. Thank you.
Thank you. And that concludes honorable members.
Sorry, Slana, sorry.
Ministerial statements.
Sorry, Standa Sam.
Yes.
Uyazi ngizwa ngiphoxeka ngoba la ngifuna ukwazi ukuthi laba bantu abahleli kolindela from 15 years bohlala how many years?
Take your seat, ma'am.
Mina ngifuna umuntu ozongithola lo.
Take your seat.
Hayi inganekwane.
Honorable Mam Kaula, we cannot prescribe to the executive on what to respond to. Thank you very much. We are done with ministerial responses. That concludes them. We now come to the last item of the day on the order paper, which is notices of motion. Does any member of the ANC wish to move a motion?
Slalo. Kanti why need us let ama member statement la man singezwathola ama answer? And
Honorable member, take your seat. Take your seat. I'm going to switch off your mic. ANC?
Yes, thank you.
I move on behalf of the ANC that in its next sitting, the House debates the prioritization of the transformation of the advertising industry to promote media diversity, to ensure plurality of views in society, and to address the existing monopoly dominance. I thank you.
Thank you, DA.
Madam Chairperson, hiermee versoek ek dat die huis met die volgende sitting die probleme wat gekoppel word aan die onwettige mynbouprodukte, praktyke in Kleinsee en wat nou uitgebrei het na bloeddrift en reëning debatteer. Dankie.
Thank you, EFF.
EFF iphakama ngoba le ndlu ngokulandelayo ithethe ngemali eyatyiwayo phantsi kominister Nomvula kwi-department yamanzi kunye nezococeko lwelindle ize ifumane isisombululo uba makwenzeke ntoni ukubuya kwemali karhulumente neyabantu abahluphekayo.
Siyabonga. ANC, Ma'am Fabs.
Thank you very much, Honourable Chairperson. I move on behalf of the ANC, African National Congress, that in the next sitting of this House, the House debates firm action to improve governance and performance of state-owned companies, ensuring that the appointment of skilled staff and appropriately qualified board members. I so move.
Thank you. IFP.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. On behalf of Finkel from Party, I shall move at the next sitting of this House that the House debate the high post charges in South African Post, which are among the highest in the world. Thank you very much.
Stogoze, NFP.
Thank you, House Chairperson. At the next sitting of this House, I shall rise and move on behalf of the NFP that this House debates the causes of wildfire fires, their implications on the welfare of the farming community and the people at large, and ways and means of combating these fires. I so move.
Stogoze, ANC, Babkamet.
Ngiyabonga Sihlalo. I move on behalf of the ANC that in its next sitting, the House debates strengthening mechanism to isolate and root out corrupt elements in the public sector and more especially in the private sector. I so move.
Siyabonga, UDM.
Thank you, Chair. I hereby move on behalf of the UDM that the House, during its next sitting, debates the continued and unacceptable use of high-powered rifles by South African Police Service to disperse crowds or to fire warning shots or for whatsoever reason may be during protests, as that poses danger to society as a whole. I so move.
Thank you. FF plus, not you. DA.
Thank you, Chairperson. On behalf of the Democratic Alliance, at the next sitting of this House, I shall move that this House debates the inability of the South African Police Service to prevent daily hijackings in New Brighton, Nelson Mandela Bay Metropolitan Municipality, and the consequences this has on business and job creation in the community.
Thank you. EFF.
Thank you, Chair. I hereby move on behalf of the EFF that in its next sitting, the House debates the role that early childhood development facilities could play in improving learner throughput in primary and secondary education. So move.
Thank you. ANC. Yes, ma'am.
I move on behalf of the ANC that in its next sitting, the House debates increasing the supply of affordable housing through increasing housing allowances for teachers, nurses, police officers, office workers, and many in the gap market. Thank you.
Thank you. COPE. ACDP, no. ANC.
I move on behalf of the ANC that in its next sitting, the House debates cooperatives in an economic model that will contribute towards addressing the three challenges, namely poverty, unemployment, and inequalities. That cancer.
You can see that done. AIC, Babunchaisa.
I move on behalf of AIC that this House in its next meeting debates how best the parliamentary funds allocated to the political parties represented in Parliament can be used to the advantage of the people on the ground. I so move.
Thank you. Ahang SA, ANC. ANC, are you done? Okay. APC not here, PAC not here. DA?
Thank you, Chairperson. On behalf of the Democratic Alliance, at the next sitting of this House, I shall move that this House debates how we can ensure that women access and utilize opportunities for them to participate in the 4th Industrial Revolution. I so move.
Thank you very much. That concludes the notices of motion and the business of the day. The House is adjourned. Thank you.
And Boroto must fall.